What up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys a Top 10 Tuesday uploaded on a Friday because I am irresponsible and I never recorded my Top 10 Tuesday video. Wait a minute, you don't even make Top 10 Tuesday videos anymore. And yeah, you're correct, I don't, but I'm going to start doing it once again. Try to do it weekly. I'll try to do the theme that the regular Top 10 Tuesday crew is doing, but I might venture and do some old themes because I missed out on a lot of them, especially if it's something that I can't cover, such as like top 10 Scorpion releases or something like that, because let's face it, I don't own those things. I should though. But yeah, so I'm going to try to do these regularly. I don't know if I'll always get them up on Tuesdays, honestly guys, because Tuesday's not really a good day for me to upload things, and I mean I probably could if I wasn't lazy, but I'm not trying to not be lazy, so we'll keep up the laziness and I'll get them up, try to get them up weekly, but probably not on Tuesday. But the series is called Top 10 Tuesday, so we're still gonna call it that, Triple T. So with that said guys, it is top 10 horror movie franchises this week. Oh man, this is a cool one. This is one that I'm surprised came up in the rotation so late. You think that would have been one that was thrown out there idea-wise very early. And I will say guys, there's always two ways to do a top 10 list. A, you can do it top 10 best, or B, you can do it top 10 favorite. This is a top 10 favorite list for me because best is kind of hard for me to do on a topic like franchises because they are more subjective than some of the other ones that you could do top 10 best. So we're going to be giving my own personal favorites here. So feel free to call me out and call me an asshole if I don't include your favorite franchise in my top 10 list because well, let's face it, my top 10 list is the one that matters. So let's go. Right now, we have coming in at number 10, the Final Destination franchise. Now, I do own Part 5, but I'm not going to grab every DVD for every film in the franchises I'm about to show because that's just too much work, and you know, this is representing the franchise. Final Destination, the first film, it really is such an original film, so well done. Has this eerie vibe to it, like when the wind blows and you know something's going on, and it's like the universe is out to get you, death is coming for you, and it really fits well with that eerie vibe. Unfortunately, I will say guys, rewatching these just a couple years ago, I did feel that it was either dated or it just, maybe I'd seen it too many times recently. It doesn't have quite the power that it did when you first ever see it. And I find that the case with most of these Final Destination films. Like, the more you see them, the less effective that eerie, hair-raising vibe is. But still a very, very solid film. Final Destination 2, my favorite in the franchise. The third one is fun. The fourth one I don't like, but the fifth one brought it back, kicked some ass, and I'm hoping they make a sixth one. These films can go on forever, and I wouldn't mind because I like seeing people die in these crazy, weird ways. That's what's fun about this franchise. And then they threw the little twist, like, hey, if you take your life into your own hands and you potentially kill one of the people that are being stalked by death, and it can change some things. That's a cool dynamic. They add some different things to the series that keep it fresh. I hope it keeps going. It's a fantastic franchise, and for that reason it makes number 10 in my top 10 horror franchises. So moving on to number 9, we have a film series that would not have made my top 10 list prior to 2013. So if you know what that is, it is the Child's Play franchise. Really, I only liked the first 3. I used to like Bride of Chucky when I was a kid, and then when Seed of Chucky came out, it ruined Bride for me because every time I watched Bride after seeing Seed, I just saw where the series was going in Bride because all of the things that I dislike about Seed started in Bride, and they become very noticeable once you have seen Seed and see where it eventually goes, if that makes sense. I know that a lot of people say franchises can be ruined by sequels or whatever, it could ruin the first film. That's never the case really, but for some reason it actually did kind of ruin Bride for me when I seen Seed. But The first film, fantastic. The second film is my favorite, also fantastic. A lot of plot holes in it, but who cares? It's awesome. The finale's great. Child's Play 3 is one that I always like as well. I like the Military Academy. I'm a sucker for films set in like interesting locations that are like kind of uncommon, like a military academy. And then Curse of Chucky came out, and I thought it brought it back. I thought it, tied up the films well, and, there was a nice nods and cameos and things in there. And it's just a franchise that, because of Curse, it really does make me love the franchise. Because the first three are so solid, and then you actually have a fourth good one, which, by the way, guys, franchises to me are 4 films and more. Trilogies or trilogies, 2 films or a film and a sequel, so it requires 4 films to be ranked on this list. So moving in to number 8, we have, this might surprise some people and it might not surprise some people, the Leprechaun franchise. Ooh, I know, probably like, dude, you're fucking retarded because those films actually suck pretty bad. And yeah, I don't think they do ish. I mean, they're kind of bad-ish. Like, the first one I think is really fun, but the comedy is obviously absolutely ridiculous, cartoony. But having the luxury of seeing that film in, like 1994, it actually scared me. Like, the Leprechaun scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, more than most horror icons, which is crazy, I know, but he did actually scare me. So the Leprechaun in the first one, scary, but not anymore, obviously. Leprechaun 2, I love the Morty character. Leprechaun 3, I love that one the most. That is the best one. Leprechaun 4 is awful, forgettable, don't even bring it up. Leprechaun in the Hood, also not really a fan of, but Back to the Hood is good. And honestly, I did not hate Origins. It was like, it definitely lessens the franchise for me a little bit, but this is one of those franchises that I can't really justify why it's on this list. It's just personal preference. Like, I like the franchise. I love watching these movies. Like, the first 3 to me, I could kind of pop in whenever, especially 2 and 3. So that is Leprechaun. There's like 7 films, and it's crazy that there's 7 films. Even though Origins really is like nothing to do with the franchise. It's just like in name only, sequel, remake, Origins, prequel thing. Lies is what it is. It's lies. So yeah, Leprechaun. So coming in at number 7, we have the Tremors franchise. Wow, Tremors. Tremors is some good stuff. The first film is amazing. The second film I'm a huge fan of. The third film I really like. The fourth film I really like, but it's not a goddamn prequel. It is a remake or a reinterpretation of the original Tremors film. It's funny, guys, we just did a podcast on these films where we covered the whole series and even a little bit of the TV show. And I will say, we had a funny argument with Tremors 4. But check that out. It'll be out Monday. We'll be posting that podcast Monday, so definitely peep it. And Tremors 5 was a huge surprise because nobody expected it to actually even happen. 5, like Tremors 5, not a remake. And also nobody really expected it to be good. But it was. It was very solid. So we got a very solid franchise here that my favorite thing about it is that it keeps continuity. It's constantly giving nods to the other films, and it feels like the same world all the time. So I love that about this franchise. It's very unique in that way. And the monsters are cool. So for that reason, Tremors hits my number 7 spot. Okay, coming in at number 6, we have the Dead franchise. Yeah, that's right. The George Romero Dead franchise. So I got the Dawn of the Dead edition here because it was like the best edition that I've had for these films. So you got Night of the Living Dead, which is an utter classic, 10 out of 10 material. Day of the Dead, also 10 out of 10 material. Dawn of the Dead, like 9 out of 10 material. I know moods would disagree, but Dawn of the Dead to me is a film that I really, really like, but it definitely doesn't have that power that it has over most people. Day to me is one of the best zombie films ever, and I like it better than Dawn. But Dawn is so good too, so don't get it twisted. And then you have Land of the Dead, which I actually do like, and it's grown on me tremendously. It's one of those films that I think will get more and more, and it has, respected as time goes on. And it really has. So, yeah, you know, and then you have Diary of the Dead, which I actually like. I haven't seen since it came out. I do own it. I really need to revisit it, but I've been waiting to cover these films in a podcast or something, and then we'll get to the, you know, to revisiting that. But I did like it when it came out. And then Survival, which is just awful, but I mean, the films before it make this one of my favorite franchises, especially the first three, man, are probably three of the best films in any franchise. Like, if you take, you can match them up with the three best films from any other franchise, like, say, just for example, like Exorcist or something, or not Exorcist because it doesn't really have that many good films in it, but, you know, any franchise, any of your favorite franchises, take the three best films, you put them up against the first three in the Dead franchise, and it's probably going to lose, honestly. They're probably going to lose because the Dead films are the shit. Alright, so what are we on, guys? I actually forgot. So, number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We're on 5. Bringing into the top 5, baby, we have Psycho. Psycho 1 is an absolute classic. Obvious 10 out of 10. Psycho 2, super good sequel. I haven't rated it in a while, but, you know, that film I love. I love Psycho 2. Psycho 3, also love Psycho 3. Psycho 4, also love Psycho 4. Never seen Bates Motel, so that's a little bit of a problem. I have seen the remake. It's garbage. But I do like the TV series. So that, I think that kind of helps the franchise, right? I mean, it's part of the franchise. It's really good. You know, but the first 4 films, man, they're really good. So, you know, you can argue these films against a lot of other franchises being really, really good as well. It almost seems like a perfect franchise, but then you forget about the TV movie and you forget about the remake, you know? So, yeah. Not the TV movie, the part 4, the Bates Motel TV movie they did. Psycho is classic. So coming in at number 4, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So I got the part 2 Scream Factory edition here that I still have not popped in, but I will soon, I promise. And this film is awesome, part 2, but we gotta start with part 1. Part 1 is amazing. 10 out of 10. My favorite horror film of all time, so damn right it's gonna be in my favorite franchise of all time, because part 2, huge fan of, always loved it. It's one of my favorite sequels of all time, even though it is kind of ridiculous and doesn't make much sense and is a complete disconnect from the first film. You know, but it's one that I can never explain why it's good, but it is. And then part 3, also very solid. It always grows on me. I always like it every time I watch it. I think I like it more every time I watch it. There's things that don't make sense about it, but it's a fun chainsaw film. Part 4, awful. Can't even really comment on it. I mean, I guess it's so bad it's good if you're weird and dumb. And then you have the remake, which is awesome. I love the remake. I think that it does great things with the characters. It takes what I love about the first couple chainsaw films, where it's about the family, and it adds new cool family members. It reinterprets the family, and you know, R. Lee Ermey's character is one of the best of the family members, hands down. And then the beginning is really good too. And then I really like Chainsaw 3D, even though a lot of people don't. So for that reason, Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is number 4 in my top 10 favorite horror franchises. Moving on to the top 3, baby. So we have Phantasm. That's right. You gotta go with Phantasm. Phantasm is a perfect franchise. You got part 1, classic. You got part 2, classic and bigger. You got part 3. It's not classic, but it is good. It continues the story. There's a little too much comedy. It does have some negatives, but it's definitely not a miss. It's definitely a hit. So you got a hit. And then part 4, for what it is, it's actually really grown on me. I couldn't believe the last time I watched it. I was like, wow, part 4 is actually good. Because in my memory, it was like boring and slow and stuff, but it's really well done, especially the uses of all the old footage. They created a Phantasm story literally out of like nothing, so it's pretty cool that they did that. Part 5, baby. We gotta wait for part 5. It can really affect the status of Phantasm. But right now, Phantasm is number 3 in my top 10 favorite horror franchise. It could go up, it could go down based on part 5. So we'll see what happens in the coming years when part 5 is released. Moving on to number 2, my second favorite horror franchise. We have A Nightmare on Elm Street. That is right, I absolutely love Part 1. Classic. Part 2, I love it. A lot of people hate it, but it is great. I love Part 2 because it is dark, it is scary, and it breaks all the rules, but the rules weren't really established yet. It is just a different film, and it ends up going a different way after Part 3, or Part 2 in Part 3, which is my favorite in the series. But Part 2 is really good. Part 4 also really loved, grew up on that one. There's a funny story, I can't tell it because it's a little graphic and stuff, but something very interesting happened to me while I was watching Part 4 once, which is funny. And then Part 5, so that's why I always have Part 4 fond memories of it. Part 5, don't like it that much. Part 6, I actually do not mind it as much as most people, but it's not very good. I'm not the biggest fan of Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but you know, it is a good movie. And then the remake, and Freddy vs. Jason, like I love Freddy vs. Jason. I hate the remake, but I don't think it's necessarily like a terrible film. It's just a terrible remake. But yeah, I love Elm Street. This is still sealed, guys. I have not opened this thing yet. I'm waiting to cover it on the podcast before I revisit these films. But I did watch Part 2 recently, and you know, great. Finally, my number 1, it should be no surprise. Oh my god, I forgot Halloween. How the fuck did I forget Halloween? So this video is absolutely pointless. Huh. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, guys. Final Destination, no longer in my top 10 favorite franchises. Halloween goes... We're not editing. We're not editing this shit. So number 10, number 9, number 8, number 7, number 6, Halloween is number 5, Chainsaws 4, Phantasms 2, Elm Street's number 2, 3. God damn. So Chainsaw's number 4, Phantasm's number 3, Elm Street's number 2. I'll get to my number 1, but first we got to talk about our number 5, which is Halloween. Halloween is awesome. You got Part 1, classic, 10 out of 10. Part 2, which is a fantastic, one of the best follow-ups ever, set on the same night. Good stuff. Then you have Part 3, which is loony, crazy, has developed a fandom, a lot of fans over the passing of time. Part 4 and 5, I like Part 4. Part 5 kind of is not that great. And then Part 6, a lot of people don't like it. I prefer the producer's cut, but you know, it's pretty solid. And then Part H2O, I really like. Resurrection sucks. I love the 2 remakes. Even H2, it's grown on me. So that is number 5, Halloween. So now we get to my number 1, which is Friday the 13th. Could anybody be surprised? Could anybody be surprised that Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise? Part 1, 2, 3, all of them. I love them all. All of them except for Jason X, which it's so hard to say that I like it. I have like for it. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. I just don't like that it exists, but because it's part of the franchise and I like Jason, I like Kane Hodder, I have a like for it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this absolutely ridiculous top 10. It's probably 20 minutes long. Peace.